Something else to call out in an early age, which I feel like is a common thing with with Paul Graham, with Zuckerberg, with Gates. At the age of 13, and I know this is like after some of his small business ventures.
Yeah, yeah.
At 13, he files his first ever tax return.
Yeah, yeah. He filed his tax return. So he's Omaha. He was born in Nebraska.
Yes.
Just like my
Ayo.
man over here. Yup. These guys are linked. It's that Omaha juice. I don't know what they're putting in the water over there, but
We're not going to tell you.
it's a secret. It's a secret. That's why he's not leaving. And it's funny because when he filed his first tax return, he was in D.C. and then. But when he first moved there, he was like, I want to go back to Omaha. So he didn't settle right away.
Right.
So he snuck off at one point and went back to Omaha to try and to live there. But he eventually got acquainted in D.C. where he had a paper route.
Yes.
With the Washington Post, and he now owns the Washington Post, I believe, or is that Bezos? Or
I think
he had shares at some point.
He had shares, yeah. I think it's Bezos that owns, or Washington Times, I think.
Yeah. So but he was used to deliver it. He was making $175 a week, I believe, which is more than the average person at the time.
More than his teachers.
Yeah.
That he was in class with.
Right. And so he was earning well. He put his work in. He had a morning route and an afternoon route, and he was just very scrupulous with his money, and just was very just knew how to put his money to work and lever it. And even before then, though, when he was 6, he began selling Wrigley's gum. His father, and I think Charlie Munger worked for his father and then moved to LA, and then they ended up getting acquainted after when they were adults. But Warren Buffett's grandfather owned a
store,
general convenience store type thing, yeah. And so he would buy packs of gum there, flip the packs of gum when he was 6, but then he would also sell individual sticks for more. And so he understood that whole dynamic there.
Which, same as cigarette sales became illegal very quickly.
Yeah, he sold these loosies, right?
Exactly.
He's like, you want some loosies?
I think he was under 10 at that point.
He was 6.
It was crazy early on that he is being an entrepreneur, which you can see in some people today. I mean, there's that one guy who's like 14 or 15 who just launched their own design site. There are entrepreneurs at this level, right? It's very rare, but there are people that are coming out with products at that 13, 14-year-old.
Something with him that I don't know if there's any documentation around this, but he obviously was buying the packs of gum from his grandfather who had a store open, and then he was going and selling it door to door.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they encouraged it or not, or if they were like, if it was nurtured, if he came up with the idea, or if they said, hey, Warren, this might be a good idea to make money, because
that's a good question. Like, would you nurture it in your kid?
I mean, absolutely.
You would? You'd say, I own a store, go sell shit back door to door?
Yeah, because it's like you're teaching that skill, but it goes back to the Zuckerberg, where they said, oh, we're going to enable you more.
Get you a tutor, get you these classes, do things where you're going to be but
you're setting your kid up for success because you're teaching him, oh, when I sell something, I can get something in return.
I think it also is like a little bit of a nostalgia for me, where it's like, I would be comfortable letting a 6-year-old knock on doors today.
Yeah.
But back in like the 30s and 40s, you probably would be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. And even if I'm gonna go with my kid to go in, sell here and there,
knock on a door, shake a hand, meet a friend.
But what's really interesting, so a couple months ago, I was out to dinner, and this kid came up and took a picture.
Okay.
And said it was a Polaroid picture, and he gave it to me and my girlfriend. And he said, hey, you can have it. And I was like, oh, this is so awesome. Thank you so much.
For free?
And I was going to give him some cash.
Oh, okay.
His mom came in between us and said, no, I just want him to love taking pictures.
Oh, that's
But in my
interesting.
mind, and of course I respected her wishes.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like,
you don't.
Well, I was like, because I've done photography for a while.
You're stopping the dopamine where it's like you get paid for your work.
Right. Well, and like just knowing that that's a thing, because when I've done photography and I know that a lot of people undervalue how much work goes into that.
True.
And I don't personally necessarily see it as something that would get in the way of him having passion for what he's doing. I think it's one of those things where you're saying it's like dopamine hit, but it's also a positive reinforcement, like, hey, there are people that value what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And I think that this is really cool. Now, moms might have had a different encounterment, but I'm also like, how many people get in the way of learning how to even start a business around something you're passionate about. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that's something where it's now being trained that I shouldn't be able to receive money for things that I love doing.
That pattern starts to develop.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you get $1 from it, it's like, oh, I might not get it from everybody, but
It's possible.
it's something where it's like I can make a living out of doing
Yeah.
something that I really enjoy doing.